Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Invitation to Puzzles, where today we have an XV sandwich puzzle brought to you by Mabeline. So I'll go over the rules of XV and sandwich, which actually go quite well together, and I'm surprised it's a combination we don't see a little bit more often. So the outside clues, these numbers outside the grid, those are sandwich clues. And so what they give you is the sum of the digits between the 1 and the 9 in the column. So I'm going to color digits that are 1 and 9 yellow, and digits that aren't 1 and 9 not yellow. This is a very bad choice. There we go. And so every column and row is going to have two yellow digits. Box, for that matter, although that's not going to be relevant for the sandwich part. And what this is always giving you is the sum of the digits between the 1 and the 9. So this is saying these three digits add to 17. So these would be the 1 and the 9 in some order, and we'd be saying these were, for example, 8, 5, 4. Those add to 17. That would be a validly filled sandwich clue. So what you have to do here is you have to use these clues to sort of figure out where the 1s and 9s can go. So, for example, I can't put the 1 and the 9 next to each other in this row with the 7 clue, because then they would, well, the sum in the middle would be 0. But I also can't put the 1 and 9 too far apart, because then the sum will be bigger than 7. So basically, you have to use the arithmetic to sort of determine the geometry, sort of backwards of the way it works in math, I suppose. Joke for all you arithmetic geometers out there. All right, so the other clue type we have, which you'll see why it pairs so well with sandwich shortly, is these X's and V's. And these are Roman numerals. And so if you're not familiar with Roman numerals, they're just telling you the sum of these digits is 10. X is 10 in Roman numerals. And V is 5 in Roman numerals. So you're saying the sum of these two cells is 5. All right, so I will leave you there. There is a link down in the description, and let's give it a go. All right, so the first thing I see is I see a 35 sandwich clue. And now if you've done a lot of Sudoku but haven't done a lot of sandwich, the 35 clue may not jump out at you. Because you might be sort of used to looking for 45s, because 45 is the sum of the numbers 1 through 9. But remember that in sandwich, you aren't ever allowed to use the 1 and the 9 in the sum, because of the 1 and the 9 are the crusts, if you will. So in fact, actually, the only numbers that you're allowed to involve in the sum are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And those numbers happen to sum to 35. Which means that I can't put anything outside the crust. So this is actually a whole sandwich. Sorry, I put that the wrong way. This is a whole sandwich, meaning I need to put my crusts here on either side. So these digits are 1 and 9, and all this stuff in the middle, it's all not 1 or 9. Okay, that's all I'm flagging here is yellow means it's 1 or 9. Gray means it's not 1 or 9. Okay. So now I need to get to a sum to 5, and I can get to a sum of 5 in 1 cell or 2 cells. 3 cells would be too many. And here's actually a very cute thing. This is a V, meaning that these 2 cells sum to 5. So actually that tells me exactly where my other crust goes in the column, because it's already told me these 2 sum to 5. And I, in fact, actually know which sum to 5 it is. Namely, it's got to be 2, 3, because remember, a 1, 4V would have a yellow cell on it, because the 1 is in this sort of distinguished special position in a sandwich puzzle. Okay, so this is a 2, 3 pair. And these cells are all no longer crust, and that's just because I already have 2 yellow cells in this column. Okay, there is more to be done, but let's do the same math for the 17 clue. So we certainly can't have this be yellow, because if it was, it would say the sandwich clue was 0, because the sum of the cells between the yellows, well, there wouldn't be any. I can't make a 17 sum in 1 either, so this still can't be yellow, or I'd have to write a 17 and a -7 into those cells, which would be a problem. Now, the thing that might again, you miss if this is your first sandwich puzzle, but you've done a decent amount of, say, killer or a few other variants, is you might think, but I could do 17 in as few as 2 cells, because it could be 8 and 9. The fact that 8 plus 9 is 17 shows up a lot in a lot of variations of Sudoku. But it can't be 8 and 9. And the reason it can't be 8 and 9 is, again, because of the 9 having this special designation as the crust, the bounding digit of the cell. It's not part of the sum. And so I actually need at least one more bit of sandwich goop to go in the middle. Your sandwiches have sandwich goop, right? Okay, so I need at least 3 cells. I could make 4 digits sum to 17. I can't actually make 5 digits sum to 17 in a sandwich puzzle, though. And again, if you've thought a lot about killer, that might seem wrong. But the problem is, if I'm making a sum of 5 digits, what's the smallest the sum could be? And it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be 15. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is 20. So, in other words, this could be a 3-cell sum. It could be a 4-cell sum. It can't be any more than that. So in other words, I'm saying one of these two is a crust. I don't know which one. But I can't make this the crust, or I've already overflown. Overflown feels like the wrong word. I've already overflowed my universe if I make this the crust, because now I'm putting too many digits into my sandwich. So that and none of these is the crust. In particular, if you want to think about it, I definitely can't make this the crust, because then I know I'd be writing a 35 into this cell. It is worth noting. Okay, so one of these is a crust. Okay, I do know that these yellow cells are a 1-9 pair, which I'm writing in just to point out that I, in fact, actually know what digits go on this X, because it's not 1, 9, 2, 8, or 3, 7. The only other sum to 6 is, the only other sum to 10 is 4, 6. Okay, let me come back up here for a second. This is definitely a 7 or 8, and neither of those numbers is 9 or 1. So this is not a 1 or a 9. Well, let's see. What else have we here? Okay. I am going to go ahead and mark that this isn't a crust either, and that's slightly trickier, but that has to do with why the X's and V's work together with sandwich, which is that the digits 1 and 9 together sum to 10. So for every X in the grid, either neither cell is yellow or both cells are yellow. And so it can't, this one's not yellow, so that one's not yellow. And I can apply that same logic to this X. These are either neither yellow or both yellow, but if they were both yellow, this 7 would be a 0. So neither of those is yellow. Actually, let's chase that further. Can this cell be yellow? Well, definitely not, because if this cell was yellow, the earliest I could put another crust is here. But now we'd have a guts of the sandwich. I've gone from goop to guts, I see, that already sum to 10 by the X, and 10 is more than 7. So this we can immediately rule out as being involved. And now actually the 7 sum in this row is actually getting a little bit restricted. Maybe not quite restricted enough. Oh, here's an easier thing that I should have done that I didn't. How about we look at this V and ask what sum to 5 it is? Namely, this is not a 2-3 sum to 5, so this has got to be a 1-4 sum to 5. And now this has got to be a 2-3 sum to 5 because it's looking at a 1-4 sum to 5. So those are also out of my dominion. One of these is assuredly a 1. This is a 6 or a 9. It bears stating. And I should actually think a little bit about how this row is going to work. Namely, this row has a sum to 3 in it. And because of the whole bit about 1 not being usable, there's only one way to make a sum to 3, which is with the lone digit 3. And so in particular, what I know in this row is that in this row, the 3 is between the 1 and the 9. So it surely isn't here, because this cell definitely is not between the 1 and the 9. So that's a 2 and a 3, which makes that an 8. For similar reasons, this isn't a 1, because again, where does the 1, the 3, and the 9 go? They all go together with the 3 between the 1 and the 9. Well, if I make this a 1, that's a 4. I'm never making this sum to 3. So actually, that's the 4, and that's the 1. So we can we can circle, fill in all that. Okay, and so now because of this 1 that we've placed, we can now actually fill in that this is the 3 and the 9. This is the 7. There, like that. This box does need 2 yellow cells, so this cell has to be yellow. I don't know if it's a 1 or a 9 yet, but it's one of them. This row has all of its crust, so we only have goop left. This box needs a second crust, so it's there, which makes this a 1-4, because 2-3 as a V doesn't have any crust in it. Makes that a 6. These are both not crust. And that 1 looks backwards over here to make that a 9 and a 1 and a 9. Let's see. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so these are 5 and 7. Oh, and this is a 9 I should fill in. Probably is enough to tell me what this X is. So it's not 3, 7 or 1, 9 or 4, 6. So it's 2, 8. And that means these remaining digits here are a 5 and a 7. And the 7 goes there and the 5 goes there because of Sudoku. Okay. I do know that this 1 is looking down at this X, so this X is one of the ones that has no crusts on it. And this 3 is looking down at this V, so this is a 1-4 kind of V. And I should look at since I placed these two, I should look at the sandwich clues that look at them. I really like the placement of the sandwich clues here, by the way. Namely, again, this can't be crust. Because it would make the sum 0, and this can't be crust because it would make the sum 0. Now, 11 is certainly going to require at least 2 digits, so actually this sum can't be crust, or this cell can't be crust either. You could also argue this cell definitely isn't crust because it sees a 1 and a 9. Likewise, this cell wasn't crust because it sees a 1 and a 9. I don't think that's the lower hanging fruit for what it's worth. I think the easier way is to think about the sum. Okay, so 7, I think, is going to be productive. Because can I possibly make this sum 3 cells long? And, well, if you think about arrows or whatever, maybe you've seen the only way to do a 3-cell sum to 7 is 1, 2, 4. But again, that uses the 1. So I can't do a 3-cell sum to 7. It's got to be a 2-cell sum, which makes that a 9. And allows me to mark that none of these are crust. Okay, and so now this is a 2-cell sum 7, and it's not 1, 6, because again, it doesn't involve a 1. It's not 3, 4, so it's 2, 5. And you can't put 5 on an X, because it would go with another 5. So there's a 5 and a 2, which makes that an 8. It sorts out the 8 and the 2 up there. I will, in fact, note that I now have a 9 and a 1 in this row already as part of the 1-4 pair. So actually all of that is not crust. Or what that is worth. And likewise, I have a 9 and a 1 in these cells, so that's not crust. Okay, and so what's left here? We've got a 3, a 6, and an 8. Okay, so that digit's definitely a 3, that one's an 8, that one's a 6. Okay, well, given that information, I think we can figure out how many cells long our 11 sum is, because these already sum to 11. So that's going to make those 1 and this 4 in order to finish out my sum to 11 there. That worked out cutely. Okay, so that's a 6 and a 4. Let's see. Oh, I guess this X, I guess I know what it entails. Oh, also, actually, at some point, I think it was when I filled in these, actually, I figured out where this 17 sum ends. So that has to be the end of the 17 sum, because it has to end somewhere, and it had better end there. Okay, and now this X, I guess for multiple reasons, isn't both yellow, so it doesn't have a yellow cell on it. So yeah, one of those is 1. One of these two is 9. Excuse me. There's a sum to 13 happening here. That tells me... Oh, I was going to say that tells me this is definitely not crust, but I already know that because in this column I filled in all the crust. I can do 13 and 2, and I guess I have to do 13 and 2. But interestingly, I can't do 13 and 2 going this direction, because the most I can make these is 3 plus 8, which is not big enough. So I have to do 13 and 2 going this direction. It just has to be in 2, because 2 is the furthest away I can get my crust. Let's do a little bit of maintenance to place the 9 there. Pretend we know Sudoku and stuff. Okay, so these two sum to 9. They're not... Sorry, sum to 13. They definitely are not 4 and 9. So they're either 3 and 8. Sorry, 3 and 8 don't sum to 13. Don't listen to me. They're not 4 and 9. They could maybe be 5 and 8 or 6 and 7. Except they can't be 6 and 7 because this cell isn't 6 or 7 by Sudoku. So in fact, these are 5 and 8, and I even know the order owing to that 8 there. Let's see. In this column, we still need a 2, which goes there by Sudoku, and a 4, which goes there. Let's see. These are 3, 6, 7 that go in. Oh, I have finished all of my crust in this row, so I might as well gray out that cell. Okay. Yes. What caught my eye during that momentary Tristan conversation is that this 2 in this box tells me that this V is a 1-4, and I know the order. Yeah, I know the order. It's not that one that I filled it in. Okay, so that tells me that these aren't crusts. And now actually this 5 down here is going to tell me what I need to know, because I need to make these two sum to 5, or I need to make an incredibly long sum to 5, which I'm definitely not doing. Okay, so that's a 9. We get that gone. Those are now not crust. And now actually we get an X that actually is a 1-9. Let's see. Okay, so this digit is known in principle. It is an 8. Good. Okay, and I think now... Oh, no. I was going to say, I think all of our clues are done, but all of our clues are not quite done. We're very close, but not quite. Let's see. That digit is no longer a 1, so that is a 1, and we can finish placing our 1s and 9s, which is usually a moment that tells you that your sandwich puzzle is usually nearly over at the point where you've placed all your 1s and 9s. This is a 4-6X because it doesn't have a 1, 7, or 8 on it. And we know the order is that one. These two digits are a 2 and a 3, it looks like. I don't think I know the order. I seem not to. This digit, sorry, when I said I had all the sandwiches done, I was missing this one. This digit is a 1-cell sum to 7, so it seems to be a 7. I probably could have used that sooner. It probably would have worked out better. These seem to be a 4 and a 5, and I think I know the order because of that. This is a 7, just by plain old regular Sudoku. These are a 2-8, because again, not 4-6, not 3-7, not 1-9. So that gives me a bunch of 3-2 action. Over there, and makes that a 5 and a 7 up there. Let's finish that with a 3. So this is also a 2-8. So this 17 clue here is going to sort out this deadly pattern at the end of the day, because there's no way that sort of within it to sort out these 2 8s. I see. Okay. This is a 5. Let's see. That is 7. Looks like a 7 indeed. Okay, what are these? 5 and 6, it looks like. Okay, so I need to make these 3 sum to 17. The absolute maximum I can make them is 17 if I make it 3, 6, and 8, so I have to do that. There we go. Let's see. Oh, I scanned and got that that was a 5, but it was a lie. It was actually a 6. Let's see. These are a 5 and a 7. Okay, so now this 3 or 6 somehow is not resolved. This 3 or 7 is a 7, though. So that should make all of that go in. And now there is an 8. There is a 6 and a 5. Very nice. I think sandwich is really an underused genre, and I think it was very well put together here. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you will run off and solve some more sandwich puzzles, because I think it is one of the genres. It's one of the older genres, and so a lot of the older genres sort of lose reputation. I think most of that's because the older genres are just bad. So, for example, palindromes you don't see anymore, and that's because palindromes puzzles are terrible. Thermos you don't see very much, and that's because thermos are not very good. But sandwich, I think sandwich has a lot more going for it than even something like killer, because of the combination of the sort of figuring out where the crusts are and figuring out what the sum is. So I think it has a lot of untapped potential. And I think it is open to a lot of minor variations, because sort of the real problem with sandwich is that you can't distinguish between 1 and 9 without introducing another variant, which, I mean, is beautifully done by Mabeline here with the X's and V's. But you can vary that in all sorts of ways. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Let us know in the comments what you think the most forgotten genre of puzzle is that we should go back to and make more of. And I'll see you next time. An invitation to puzzles. Bye for now.